Hello, hello. How we doing? Good evening, good afternoon. How are we today? What is going on this Tuesday evening? How are we feeling? How are we feeling? Got quite a lot to talk about actually that I want to discuss. Quite a lot to discuss, okay? Quite a lot to think about. And quite a few things still up in the air before we reach the end of the window. So how you doing? How are we all? Getting a bit shaky over this keeper? About to get even shakier. Get rid of Garnacho. Yeah. Not great regarding Garnacho. But how are we all this evening? How are you guys doing today? What do you guys think? I've got quite a few things to discuss today. I want to talk about Adam Wharton, Yeoman in the midfield. I want to talk about the goalkeeper. I want to talk about sales. I want to talk about Baleba. I want to talk about some tactics stuff. And I also want to talk about Kobbie Mainoo. I want to talk about Kobbie Mainoo. Big topic of discussion, I think, on Kobbie Mainoo, it seems. I'm not sure there should be, mind you. I think to a degree, I feel as though fans kind of feel like we need to have something negative to talk about.
Can I get a shout out for my daughter born today?
Absolutely. Congratulations, KF, on the birth of your daughter. Congratulations. My best to her, to the mother, to you, and to everybody.
New forwards. Lack
It's a
of
wonderful
big
thing.
chances created and sustained attacks. Goalkeeper letting the team down. Just like I said. Hope we play better versus Fulham.
I'm not so sure, Alfred. I think you have a little bit of confirmation bias. United had 22 shots on target and created, I think, in the top 5 of non-penalty expected goals in the league yesterday. The goalkeeper letting us down, sure, but I don't know about the rest of that. You were right about Cunha, by the way. I know. Cunha has serious gravitas. He's a serious player. He is on another planet in terms of his effect on the team. He's going to be really good. Thank you, KF. Thank you. My son was born in 2018. He was born like right when we appointed Solskjaer, and I remember because my wife gave birth in between Jose's sacking and Solskjaer's hiring, and I remember watching the early Solskjaer games with him in my arms, and yeah, you'll remember those moments watching the games with your kid for the first time as a baby, carrying them while they sleep. Those are memorable times. So yeah, pay attention to that. I love that. Okay, let's go. Let me just tweet out one more time that we're live. So just hold on one second. One moment. Whoops. Yes. Okay. So firstly, I do also want to say thank you to everybody who watched the tactical video so far. I have got some fantastic feedback on that. I think that it was for most of what people have told me, it was very helpful for them to understand why Ruben Amorim does some of the things that he does, why Ruben Amorim does certain tactical movements, things like that. I was really happy with how it worked out, because I recorded a bunch of the clips before the Arsenal game for that video, specifically pointing out Matthijs de Ligt against Everton and what he didn't do. And waited for the Arsenal game to see, hey, is he going to correct this problem? And is it going to fix the issue? And against Arsenal, de Ligt did it perfectly. And the test of de Ligt and the test of the tactics I think that we saw at the weekend, and if you missed the video, I really do recommend you go and watch it. I think you will absolutely love it, to be quite honest.
The team got exposed on the transition many times.
No, I don't think that's true, RSV. I don't think that's true. But thank you. I don't think that's true. The big test will be, can we keep it up? Can we keep that doing? But bear in mind, it's up to the personnel. It's up to de Ligt being brave. I didn't expect him to do that because he hasn't done it. You know, but then when a player does it, I think, well, shit, he can do it. So now that we know de Ligt can do it, you've got to pay attention to the next game and see if he repeats it. And if he doesn't, then understand it's not the tactics, it's him. Watch that specific motion of him stepping up into the midfield.
Bro, I need some Kobbie. Any chance we sign Wharton, Bayindir or Camavinga or Rodri this window?
Rodri. I can rule out 3 of those, okay? I can rule out 3 of those. The biggest thing that we have to see de Ligt do in games moving forward is step up into the midfield out of possession. And in possession, he needs to be a lot better at knocking the ball on into those wide areas like he did.
Loves to drift inside even with Mumo.
That I agree, RSV. That is something they have to work out on the training ground, because Ahmad and Mbeumo kind of nullified each other a bit too much. There was, I think specifically Ahmad there, he was making very poorly coordinated runs with Mbeumo, and that needs to be a fix. Yeah, some people have agendas which are already sussed out by that performance. Yeah, look, I gotta say one thing that I have to say. One thing I have to say that does bother me is that for a whole year I've tried to explain specifically how, and in the video in the lead up to this week, I've tried to explain specifically how the 10s drop in to make more midfielders to assist in the build-up. And I've tried to explain how the personnel that we have didn't do that, and that was why we weren't seeing it, and that was why we were struggling to have that happen. I've also tried to explain why the inverted center back was happening. And again, you watch the video, you'll see examples, the pictures, all of that. The inverted center back was happening, and how it was potentially advantageous, because what it actually, when people are looking at all the downsides of it, or what they perceive as the downside of it, I've never seen people ask, what is the actual positive that it does? And what you saw was in that game, it creates space in the wide areas, exactly what we've showed and talked about for quite a long time. And the simplicity was, we did not have players to execute the things, or maybe the coaching perspective. We did not have the players or the time on the training ground to coach the team into doing the things that they were doing in that game that they haven't done before. I just want to, well, anyway, we did not have that. And the way that you have to judge a coach, is tactically, you can only see what the player can put out, what the players are capable of executing. If you don't have the players to execute it, then you're limited. If you don't have the time to coach the players to execute it, then you're limited. And far too much is made of the tactics, and far too little is made of having personnel with the right profiles to play in these positions. If you look at where, for example, Mason Mount played in that first half, and you look at how he was supporting the team, and you look at what's going on there, and then you go to, let's say, Garnacho last season. Let's go ahead and take a look at Garnacho's. We could just pick a random one here. This is the right side. Now, there's a big difference here. Hold on, let's find one where he's playing on the left, because this switched mid-game. There's a big difference between how the 10s support and where they spend most of their time in helping and assisting in the build-up and things like that. Is he playing on the left here? Oh, wow, Mount started this game too. Good lord. How have I managed to pick like the 3 games that Garnacho didn't start? Forgot that Mason Mount started towards the end of the season again. Let's go back. It's because I'm going too recent. I forgot how much he started. Let's even look at a good game. How about that? Oh, he was on the right here as well. If you look at how out wide and lacking in support on the midfield, yeah, I could just look at his season heat map. You're totally right about that. That would probably be the simplest answer, wouldn't it? Let's go Premier League 24-25. There you go. This is purely a winger's heat map, right? This is purely a winger's heat map. He's traveling down here the whole game, and the middle, these areas you're seeing very, very little. This is what the 10s are supposed to do. This is how they're supposed to drop in. This is supposed to help. This is what they're expected to accomplish in order to, help the team do better, essentially. We haven't had the people to do it. We just haven't. We haven't had the people to do it. And I think the thing that bothers me about the conversation around it is that people will go and say, you think Garnacho might have mentioned he was unhappy with Mount starting. Yeah, apparently he was, wasn't he? Made some sort of comment. Is that people will go, why do you invert the set? Like, I was watching all these things being talked about before the game about Amarim's explanation. Why would he invert the center back? Because we just go long. And then we actually are able to execute the exact plan that's laid out for the first time. And instead of saying, oh, I get it, I was wrong. There is a reason to invert the center back. Oh, I get it, I was wrong. The 10s do support it. They go, oh, Amarim changed his tactics. Which is a very sneaky way of saying, I was right, his tactics were wrong, and now he's changed them and it's working. All along, far, far too much was being made of the tactics, and not enough was being made of the fact that the players just couldn't do it. Because you look, and the De Ligt example is the perfect thing. You look at Everton, and the video that I made, which again I recommend you go watch. You watch Everton and you watch Arsenal, and I only focus on De Ligt in that video. He could have done what he did against Arsenal against Everton. It had nothing to do with tactics. Against Everton, he was too slow. Against Arsenal, he was on his toes and was executed it better. That's it. That's the only answer. That's the reason. Are United going to cave in and give Chelsea what they want? We talk about that in a moment. It is what the players are capable of executing. That's it. Okay? When can you judge a manager, and when is it the manager's when can you really look at a manager and look at their tactics and say it's not good enough? 2 times. When they have the player, when they have the players that they want, and when they've had time to coach. How long is that? Everybody's going to have variations of that feeling about how long it takes to get somebody in there. About how many players do they need for it to be their team. And everybody's going to have variations of how long do they need to coach. I'm actually very impatient on that front. I think there's second seasons when you judge them. I looked at Erik ten Hag and I said, between the first summer and the second summer, he spent 600 million on players. That's a lot of players. That's a lot of money. That's enough to build a team that should be able to put out a tactic. Maybe it's like 500 million in that time. Okay. That's enough players. You've had 2 full summers and a full season. That's enough time. So in his second season, I was done with him by October, because it was like, cool. First season is a free hit. Second season, there it is. Ruben Amorim's first season, nobody considers when it's in the management. They don't think of it at all. That's why they gave him a lot of money this summer and the backing that he has. He's not in danger. Why? 0 players, 0 time on the training ground. How can you actually judge a manager based on that? You're saying that he has to make that team play very, very different. Now, there are different types of coaches. There are also 2 types of coaches. There are coaches who come in and say, I'm going to take the players that are here and I'm going to adjust my system to match them. That's Thomas Tuchel, Thomas Frank, lots of Thomases, other players, other coaches like that. Then there are coaches who come in and say, I'm going to play this way. If you don't fit, you're not going to play. If you fit, you're going to play, and I'm going to build my team around making it play the way I want it to play. They come in with a top-down plan. That's what Ruben Amorim was appointed to do, and that's why with a manager like that, they have to get players. He literally doesn't have to win games now. That's the funny part. Certainly, we need to win games. And the aim and the feeling and the assessment is he's had enough time and enough players, and the quality of the squad is good enough that we have to get into Europe. That's the goal. That will determine whether he's successful or not at the end of it. Because over the course of this season, he will have had enough time. Like I said, it's his second season now, kind of. So this is the season he will be judged upon. And he will get the full season, but he's not under pressure from day one. It's not how it works. He's not under any more pressure than United managers are at any point. You know, he's not under more pressure because we couldn't put the ball in the net against Arsenal. That's just not how it works. They want to see the performances. The wins will obviously have to add up. And by the end of the season, we'll have to be in European position. I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that we will, though. I think that much is very, 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 very clear. Now, all of this is an interesting point when it comes to Kobbie Mainoo. And I'm actually going to put an entire video together on this Kobbie Mainoo debate, because I've said a lot of things about it. And I think sometimes those things get taken out of context. I think sometimes those things get taken out of context, and I think sometimes people be dramatic about those things. Which is that, again, we have a manager. If we continue to play the way we played against Arsenal throughout the season, we qualify for Europe 100%. That was against the best defense in England. Like, just bear that in mind. A team that's 6 years ahead in terms of how long their manager's been there and all of that. Do we need to win against Fulham? Yeah. We need to win against Fulham. Of course. We need to continue that performance against Fulham. Of course. No one's arguing different to that. The Arsenal game is a good sign. If that same performance happens against Fulham, then we will win. And then we will win against Grimsby. And we'll have 2 wins, and we'll be heading into games, like that. That will make things easier. That will make everybody feel a lot better. But performances lead to victories. You have to do the right things in order to accomplish and get to the right result. If you don't do the right things, you can't get a result. Results just don't go backwards, And yeah, I mean, the managers improving players things is kind of funny. I think we have to managers need to put players in the right positions to succeed based on their skill sets, right? I think that's what they're supposed to do. That's what managers have to do that do really well, is put managers in their positions to, play out the skill set that is best for them to be successful. However, the most successful managers also end up spending the most money. So more often than not, managers are replacing players and finding the right ones that they need and assessing players very, very well to get the right people in place. But Kobbie Mainoo it's an interesting debate here, because there's 2 sides to this. There's 2 sides to this, and I want to just bring these points up to think about. And I'm going to make a whole video on this tomorrow, because I think it's worth a whole video. I think it's worth a whole there's a whole lot to actually think about when it comes to this, which is that Kobbie Mainoo, first of all, Kobbie Mainoo doesn't have to start. And the one thing I really, really don't like that's gone on in our fan base, and the thing is, it's from the same people, which I don't like that this is done because it comes across to me as not so genuine. It's from the same people that have really not liked, that bring up the same things about the inverted CCB, that bring up the same things about the tactics. There's a very clear dislike of Ruben Amorim. And Kobbie unfortunately keeps being brought into that conversation as a stick to beat Ruben Amorim with. And I think that that's completely unfair. One, because why are we going back to Player FC? For years, the fan base has clamored for, I want a manager with a system. I want a manager who doesn't make decisions based on the players. I want a manager who's this or that. I want a manager who's going to stick to his principles and his ideas and all of that. And then when a manager does it, and it doesn't include the specific player that they want right off the bat, it's a problem. And then they don't want it anymore. I said last year that I would back Ruben Amorim over anyone when he came in, including my favorite player, which is Marcus Rashford. I didn't expect that to come to fruition, not to fruition, but to a head so quickly. Marcus Rashford is our best academy product of the last 15 years. Marcus Rashford is our most accomplished academy product over the last 15 years. Marcus Rashford's been at the team since he was 7 years old. Marcus Rashford's been in the team for 10 years. Marcus Rashford's won, I think, 7 trophies with United. Maybe it's 6. Could be wrong. Marcus Rashford is in the top, 5 to 10 goal scorers of all time at Manchester United. He's gone. He was gone within a month. He's not here. So that's that. It's like, it is what it is. The manager's there. He has to make decisions that work for his team. He has to make decisions that work for what he needs right now. Okay? And the last thing that Ruben Amorim should do is convert his entire team into fitting one 20-year-old midfielder. We've got time. We've got time. He's got time. He can sort it out. He can sort it out. Bringing up Ugarte is like a pointless comparison. It's just whataboutism, and it's like the question is Kobbie Mainoo fit what he wants or not? Right now, it's a no. And I think that people can understand why or not. There are plenty of reasons to understand why. It has nothing to do with any other player. It has absolutely nothing to do with any other player. It's really an excuse to say, I want us to go back to 4-3-3. I don't like the 3-4-3. Because what is Kobbie's best position? Kobbie's best position is a third midfielder in a 3. And the answer is why? You cannot play Mainoo and Bruno together. And you may be demanding that right now. But you're just wrong. Mainoo and Bruno can't play together. That's not a good combination. I'm actually, I think this is where people get into that bias standpoint. When Kobbie was being deployed,
will the bomb squad be here at the end of window?
No, they'll get gone, even if it's in the Turkish window. When Kobbie was deployed as a deeper midfielder, under Ten Hag, and he was doing all the defensive work next to Christian Eriksen, and that was in a 3, then everybody was complaining that Kobbie's burning out playing deep, myself included. And he did. He was burning out playing deep. He at one point was making the most tackles in the Premier League. And what happened? What happened? He got injured. He got injured again.
You can play them together for 20 minutes when trailing at home on opening day. Transitions be damned. Ugarte obviously was put on to defend, but he killed so many attacks. Bad coaching.
No, but you're just making an opinion there. Transitions be damned. Okay. So we put him on, we put a guy on at 65 minutes and we concede another goal. That doesn't help us. That's no manager does that. No manager does that. Okay? It's like that doesn't change anything. It doesn't change anything. Okay? Like you can have the opinion transitions be damned, but Arsenal had just made subs that would help them have more of a transition threat. And we're trying to exploit that. Then you lose 3-0 and you say, oh, wow, can't believe he went over the top and putting on attacking substitutes and we got hit on the counter and we lost 3-0 and it looks worse. Like, it's all in hindsight. It's all in hindsight. They're not the same position. It's like saying, well, Maguire came on for Shaw. That should have been Kobbie Mainoo. It's not the same position. It's not the same position. It's not the same position at all. It was at 65 minutes in the game. That's it. It has nothing to do with anybody else. It has nothing to do with anybody else in the team. There's nobody else to. Kobbie Mainoo will earn minutes if he plays well. Making it about anybody else is just dramatic. He will earn minutes if he plays well, and he will get minutes. And the best place that Kobbie Mainoo can learn to play is behind Bruno Fernandes. That's his position. Kobbie Mainoo's position is behind Bruno, not next to him. Kobbie's position is Bruno's position, not anybody else. That's where he will play football. That's where he will become a player in the team. He's 20 years old, and he's happened to come into the team where one of the most robust, best players in the last 10 years of United, who doesn't get injured and who has enormous work rate, plays.
Video, loved it. Since you've watched Sporting a lot, what does Amorim do when other managers adapt to his style and finds holes? Every system can be exploited. How does a settled Amorim deal with it?
I mean, pretty simply, like, there's a lot of variations within the system. Like we saw as well, there's ways in the build-up when they cut down certain angles. You could go direct to the 10s, you could go out to the wing-backs, you can hit the bounce passes through. There's a lot of different ways. So it's mostly about having the players coached in such a way that they can identify the adjustments that are in there and then make the right decisions. But there's a lot of flexibility within that system once it gets going. You know, so yeah, look, that's just the reality with Kobbie Mainoo. And I'll break a lot of things down because I think people have to just recognize what Kobbie is good at. There's a lot of things Kobbie's really good at. There's a lot of things Kobbie is good at. And there's other things that are not his strong suits. And he's gonna pick who he feels is going to match his strong suits. He's going to pick who he feels gives him the best chance of winning. And that's really all that there is to it. So, yeah, Kobbie will be fine. But I think people need to understand why he's not necessarily being selected at the moment. But most of the criticism just comes down to people really like Kobbie and think if he's not playing, it's some kind of crime. It's not. It's not. Making it this big thing about playing a 20-year-old is just crazy. It's just nothing to do with that. It's just too much, man. You can't get into that. You do not have to change your formation to suit one player. Nobody's ever going to do that. It's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. And what we do have to do, and what the reason I see it as an issue, is that it's become another thing to just use as a stick to beat someone with. That's all. It's like, he will be fine. He will be fine. He will be okay. He will get there, and he will work out. And he will play a lot in the future. And he will probably start against Grimsby, you know? And you'll say, and it's like, okay, wow, it's a cup game. Okay, so what? This year, we have 1 game a week. And we have cups. And Kobbie can play in that position.
For the additional training sessions this year, do you expect any advanced tactics later in the year? What's evolved on Marine Ball? Also to Bast soon?
Yeah, good question on that. I'll come back to that. But that is also the midfield. Like, when I say the midfield doesn't have to progress the ball very well, advanced MRM tactics, you add in the progression to the midfield. It's not his core foundation, but it's something that gets added into it. But we have fewer games this season. See, so he only starts in cup games, you know, skull emoji. Yeah, so what, man? Like, next year, we get back into Europe and Champions League, then there will be a lot of games for everybody, and we will be very happy to have a squad. We will be very, very happy to have a squad of players. They'll be fine. They will work it out. They will be totally okay in the end. But at the moment, we just have to play who's going to be the best player. Look, if Kobbie doesn't want to be here because he's 20 years old and he's not a starter at United already, so be it. That's on him. But you have to ask yourself, would Kobbie Mainoo start for Liverpool today? The answer is no, by the way, because he doesn't fit their traits either. So should they sack their manager because they don't have a system that matches Kobbie Mainoo? No, of course not. It doesn't make any sense. There's plenty of systems where Kobbie Mainoo wouldn't start today. He would absolutely not start for Liverpool, and if you're saying that, you are delusional. He wouldn't have started for Klopp's Liverpool, and he wouldn't start for Arne Slot's Liverpool, based on the way that they play. Not every system needs that. He can grow, and he will get there, and that'll be okay. And we'll have time for everybody to play. But for now, what we cannot do, and what is really toxic, what is really, really toxic, is to constantly use this as just another thing to beat the manager with. It's just silly. It's just silly. Like, people did this with Garnacho, and it was so toxic. It was a year and a half of, like, I remember all the discourse about Garnacho and about Rashford and how he was blocking him and all of these kinds of things. And then look what happened. We don't have to do that. Let's just let it go. He'll be fine. He will be fine. He will be grand in the end. He will get there, and he will do well. So we'll talk about that. We will talk about that later. We'll look at that. Let's talk about Wharton and Yeoman, because I have my own sort of information on that side of things as to where I am at. Now, my understanding on Wharton and Yeoman and the midfield is that Adam Wharton is the midfielder that they pretty much rate the highest outside of Carlos Baleba in terms of a player who they feel can anchor the midfield for the long term, and again also doesn't necessarily match up with the doesn't necessarily get in the way of a Baleba one. Adam Wharton is really good. Kobbie would start ahead of Mac Allister.
Ahead of Mac Allister. In fact, Mac Allister wouldn't have been.
Mac Allister's like the best midfielder in his position in the league. Come on, man.
Kobbie is great, but don't hype him like he's world class.
Come on, man.
Dog, who is the same age, but he starts because
there's no
in his
way
position, he's
that's
growing
what people
every
believe.
Game. Kobbie as of now simply isn't.
Well, and he's got someone
Any
in front of him.
reports concrete?
Any of the Gourmet reports concrete? No, not as of yet. There's no way somebody said he would start over Mac Allister. That's crazy. This is where I say people are they go over the top when it comes to academy players. Kobbie Mainoo is nowhere near Mac Allister. Thank you for the donation. He is nowhere near Mac Allister. Mac Allister is an unbelievable player. Unbelievable player. You know, it's really funny. It's really funny because I'm just noticing in the chat, it's the same people that really don't that are raising the same criticisms of like that are really negative on Amram that also firmly believe this exact thing that thing Kobbie Mainoo would replace Mac Allister instantly. That is a crazy take. That is a crazy take. I think absolutely nobody thinks that. But it's funny, the alignment with the opinions of people who are really negative on Amram, really negative about our game, that think that Kobbie Mainoo is better than Alexis Mac Allister right now. That is a really interesting thing to note. I'm not sure what to make of that because it's very, 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 very strange. That is very, very strange. That is a very weird thing to say. There's practically nobody who would say that in football right now. Mac Allister is really good. He literally won a title last season. He is so good. Like, Mac Allister is crazy, man. It's really funny. We're going to move on for it. We're going to move on from it. Yes, Adam Wharton in particular. Donny van de Beek is better than Bruno. Yes, it's the same. It's this. I don't want to compare Mainoo and Donny van de Beek, though, because Mainoo's a lot better than Donny van de Beek. But Mac Allister is one of the best midfielders in the league. And yeah, he got into the PFA team of the season because he is essentially the best player in his position in the league right now. So he's really good. And like, it's all good. It's all good. Again, Wharton is the midfielder that they think is really tops. And if they could, they've been following him for years. If they could make a move for him, they would go for him. They would still go for Baleba, obviously, later on. But the worry, of course, with Adam Wharton is that he's just kind of untouchable. The problem with Yeomand and, say, Ederson is that their prices are quite high at the moment, as I hear it. With Wharton, the price is potentially high, but they think he's so good, it would be kind of worth it to pay for him. They value him certainly higher in terms of how good he is. But the worry is that he's just not for sale. When you look at the situation with Palace, with selling Eze, with selling potentially Gehi as well, Wharton is potentially just completely unavailable, just completely untouchable this season. And that is, of course, kind of the issue. So the few things they have to weigh up. But do we want to overpay significantly for someone like Yeomand or Ederson? If, you know, or could we make a move for Adam Wharton? Now, at the same time, we need sales in order to do any of them. So they haven't decided. They just haven't decided on this. But the point is, they would very much like to get a player that they feel is potentially very good for that position. Oh my God. I shouldn't have brought up the Kobbie thing, but that's why I want to do a whole video on it. It's far too controversial. Like saying we shouldn't sign Wharton because of Kobbie. They're not even close to the same player. Like, they have completely opposite traits. That's like, it's okay. We move on. In this midfield, there's the two profiles of more of the sitter, and Casemiro is somebody who sits deep. So their dream midfield, yeah, would probably look like Baleba and Adam Wharton, where you have people who can do multiple types of things. Wharton and Yeomand are more similar to what we saw out of Casemiro in the first game, right? They're players who sit kind of deep, shield the back line, and they both actually have really, really good progression. Yeah, exactly, Patrick. They're trying to don't make Kobbie versus Wharton a thing. They'd make a really good combination. Wharton plus Kobbie would be a really nice combination. But Wharton is a perfect kind of deep midfielder for this system. Shield the back line, decent size and height and decent in the air, able to get the ball around quickly as needed, but
like having
can
Wharton
sit
and
kind of
Bayindir.
deep.
We could sell Kobbie and fix the issue at hand. He is pure profit too.
Well, I would rather not sell Kobbie, but in the long term, having, for example, Wharton, Baleba, and Kobbie would make for 3 unbelievable options, and it would be nice to have that. Why can't we have some decent depth? Why can't we have a good team, in the long term? Why can't we have that? Let's have all 3. And then we can pick 2 based on the game, based on rotation, based on playing multiple matches a week and things like that. And that would be fantastic. So that would be the right way to go about it, I think. Having Wharton, Baleba, Bruno, and Kobbie, is a good four-man team that would allow us to actually kind of rotate. But, would it be super toxic that Kobbie doesn't start every game? I don't know. I mean, that's just football, man. I mean, the funny thing is, like, in a pep team, for a long time, it was always funny seeing, like, good players would constantly be rotated and things like that for years. But yeah, Adam Wharton, I think, is like, if they could pick it out of the ideal player, it would be right now Adam Wharton. Not the same player as Baleba, but a profile that they really like and a player that they really like. Yeoman is a good player who could back up, who could essentially do what Casemiro does. But the price that's mentioned is just super, super expensive at the moment. It's just too much money. It's overvalued, and that's the concern there. So hence they haven't made the decision. I could see a world where we still do make an attempt. I still see a world where we could make an attempt for Adam Wharton late on in the window, if we can get some sales and things coming in. I think that he would be, the right person. He would be the right person to come in to do that, if we can this summer, and the next summer can go for Baleba as well. So we'll see if they do. That decision hasn't been made, but they need to sell first. Now, on the goalkeeper front, unfortunately, it just looks like we're not going to get anybody. It would be nice, but it just looks like we're just not going to get anybody.
Do you think Cass might go if we got Wharton?
I don't think Casemiro's going anywhere this summer. I think he will go for free next summer for sure. Yeah, I think he will go for free next summer. But yeah, goalkeeper, it looks like we won't get anybody. It's been the case of we have to sell to buy there in that position, and we haven't sold anybody.
May I interest you in a certain Lamine Camara, smirking face emoji?
Be nice, but it's just not somebody that they have. Mr. Ugarte is losing some of the support he did have, and it never felt like a lot. Yeah, he had a terrible game. Like I said, he was number 1 on my list of players who had to prove it in their second season. Not a good start to his substitution into the Premier League this year. He's not going to have many backers. I've pushed back against a lot of what I felt is over-the-top criticism to him, just because that's what I do, especially in a player's first season. Like, I'll back any of the new signings first season. That helps that Cunha and Mbouma had a good first game, but Šeško, if he struggles a bit, that's fine. I'll back any of the players in their first season. Second season, you have to prove it. Second season, you start off at a neutral ground with me, and so far now Ugarte's moved into the negative. De Ligt's moved into the positive after the first game, so that's how it works. And I had the reverse opinion of them before that game, so that's really what it comes down to. You just have to perform. That's pretty much it. Again, on the goalkeeper, unlikely to get somebody here. Now, there was a piece that came out which said that they feel happy with the way, the data and things like that, in terms of they feel happy with the data and things like that in terms of the goalkeepers and that they're actually decent. It's kind of a weird one. In their defense on this, Onana's numbers aren't bad, and they never have actually been bad. But the problem is he makes such horrific mistakes that aren't necessarily things caught on the stat sheet that, like, I feel like the data can't reflect that. And for me, I don't see how you can have any confidence in that. I think this is the one mistake in there, because it's like, I just don't get it. I don't get it at all. You can see with your own eyes that the goalkeepers make a lot of mistakes. And they make too many mistakes. And those bozo moments are like, you just can't do anything about it. Like, you just can't live with those. You know what I mean? You just can't. The thing I wanted to add on this, though, that I had as a slight thought is there was no data that said Amrabat was Pirlo reincarnated. That was just weird people doing weird things. The one thought that I have on Bayindir. And you know, I thought about it. I thought about being very positive about Bayindir because I rewatched for that tactical video the entire game. And Bayindir was actually really good. That's the crazy part. Like, he made the mistake, but he was really good. His passing was really good. Like, he was really damn good. He was so solid. And his passing was really good. And it's like, yeah, it's just one game.
No more sign a GK.
Thank you, Managerial. And he was like really good. And I looked at it and I was like, he didn't have many crazy saves to make, right? But his passing was exceptional. And then I thought about Altay and I was like, how often has Altay gotten a chance? How often has Bayindir actually had a chance? He's only played like 12 games over 2 seasons with us, right? Something like that. 12 or 14 games over the course of an entire 2 seasons. When Dean Henderson was here, I don't know if people misremember it, but Dean Henderson came into the team and he played well, but he also made a few mistakes. And he made a few mistakes in multiple games. I think there was a Sheffield United and there was another one. He made mistakes. And then he got dropped for De Gea and blah, blah, blah. And time goes on, right? And I think the thing about it is that what's true about goalkeepers is that they all make mistakes, especially when they're kind of getting going. I don't think goalkeepers make mistakes when they're getting going. But Dean Henderson grew out of those mistakes. How? Away from United by continuing to play games and growing out of it. De Gea, when he was younger, made a ton of mistakes and he grew out of it. Trafford absolutely made mistakes. When Trafford was first in the Premier League, he made tons of mistakes. And then he continued to play and got out of it. Bayindir has played so few games, I could see the argument that someone could make that if he continues to play, he won't make those mistakes. I have almost more faith in Bayindir right now than I do Onana, because we've seen so much of Onana. Those mistakes haven't gone away. They've gotten worse. I could see an argument that Bayindir can play more games and get out of the mistakes. I can't see that argument for Onana. That's a risk for sure. I'm not saying he will get out of those things, but I could see a world where Bayindir plays 10 games in a row and he stops making mistakes and he grows out of it. Maybe. It's a risk. I still would buy a goalkeeper, but I would certainly rather see Bayindir than Onana right now. Because I think with Bayindir, there's a chance he grows out of the mistakes. With Onana, it's been 2 years and he's been making mistakes every game. So we'll see. I think everybody's like, really? No keeper, myself included. We should have bought a keeper. I think it's a mistake, but I'm also willing to see what happens and hope that I'm totally wrong. I also hope I'm totally wrong. That's all. I hope I'm wrong, because I don't think he'll turn it around. But I'm hoping. I'm hoping I'm wrong on this, and I hope we all are. But I'd certainly rather see Bayindir now, because there will be games where we won't be dealing with Arsenal, and if he can distribute like that against Fulham, he's going to help us a lot. So that's on that front. On the sales front, as kind of expected, Jadon Sancho continues to waste everybody's time. Probably goes on loan at the end of the window. There's nothing new on that. Everybody keeps saying he's trying to convince him this, that, and the other. He's just going to waste everyone's time. I don't even know if he'll go on loan. Maybe he'll just sit out for 6 months, agree a free contract somewhere, and who the hell knows. So that's on that. Now, the Garnacho situation is very weird, because every few days you get Fabrizio saying it's close. He put an exclusive on Instagram today saying that it was very, very close to being done. Saying that there was a here we go soon. Now, at the same time, you got Sky Sports saying that the valuation was 25 million off. I'm not saying that they're right, because they may just be wrong. But, like, it's very, very weird. It's very, very weird.
Bayindir makes mistakes, but if consistently keeps his distro as good as he did against Arsenal, then he gives us more than Onana in build-up.
Agreed, Humphrey. Agreed. Absolutely agreed. So, yeah, I really don't know. I don't know what to make of it. I'd heard there was a small closing in the gap. I don't think it was 25 to 50. But I don't know if a deal is actually that close. So, yeah, I'm not sure. There. What I did hear on the goalkeeper, by the way, is that the competition on goalkeeper is very open on the goalkeeper. That is what I have heard. So I don't think it's decided who will start the next game yet, but I have heard that it is a very much an open competition for it. And so there's a decent chance that Bayindir will be starting. Yeah, my understanding on that Chelsea Garnacho thing is that Chelsea had gone and United had gotten closer on the valuation. Now, Romano seems to say it's very close, so that would kind of confirm that. But I'm confused, because I've heard it got closer, and Sky Sports say it's still very far, but Romano says it's very close. I don't know what the truth is, so I guess we'll find out. I heard it was closer. I'll stick with I heard it was closer and that it's still expected soon, because that's what I've heard. On... Who else was I wanted to talk about? On Rasmus, I don't have any new news on that front, except, yeah. I don't have any new news on that front. Yeah, Keegan says we're holding out on £50 million total, so maybe there could be add-ons and things in there. It's hard to say. I don't have any new news on Rasmus. Malacia is still in discussions with Roma. Antony is holding out for this Betis move. That's like a terrible move for us, but we'll probably accept it at the end of the window. It's pain. It's so many players killing the moves off. And the problem we have here is that we need to get one of these done if we want to make that move for a midfielder right now. So the fact that none of these are like wrapping up is, if we wanted to make an approach for Wharton or somebody right now, then we kind of can't until we make some sales, and the sales are stalling out at the moment. And that's what makes me believe personally that we don't get anybody in the rest of the window, that's probably it. Because I don't think we're going to be selling in time to get a major player in like Wharton. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that somehow we figure it out, or that we end up with something else. But yeah, it's very, very irritating that these players are doing that and are holding things up. I'll see if I have a Rasmus update later on in the week, but yeah, he was still not fully closing the door to a move, but still wanting to look at his options. It's a very emotional situation, as I said before, and I think from people around him, very messy. I don't think we'll be signing Rabiot. Rabiot is probably like the last person on earth that they would want to add to the dressing room right now. I mean, if you can't survive the dressing room under De Zerbi, if you're too toxic for De Zerbi, when you consider the type of people that he attracts, I don't know what to say. On Baleba, again, my information on that is, of course, that we'll go for him next year, and that there's a pretty strong belief from United that he will be choosing United, and that they can get him next summer. From the conversations they had, they think they'll get him. I think that we need Europe to do it, but I think that if we get Europe, they're pretty confident that we will sign him next summer, and that he will choose us. So maybe he will. I'll kind of trust him on that. I'll trust them on that because they've been good on Kunyan and Bumo and Sheshko at, all of that. When it's players that have said they want to join them, they tend to get them. So we've kept a good relationship with Brighton over the situation, not forcing a problem, not forcing the player to agitate or anything like that. We'll probably look to agree a deal ahead of summer next time, as long as we're on the right track. So that would be good. That's pretty much it. That's all I wanted to do today. That's all I wanted to cover. Tomorrow, I'm going to put together like I said, the Kobbie debate. I've got a whole bunch of things I want to talk about on it. So I'll be covering that with a video tomorrow. What else do I have on the agenda for tomorrow? Obviously, any news or updates I will talk about as well, and keep following up on these situations. Otherwise, go watch the tactical video. Oh, by the way, in addition, I know I've said this before, I do have potentially two completely exclusive stories that I just need to get some approval on. Maybe tomorrow. They're not necessarily transfer related things, but they are important things. One could potentially be related to the stadium and as well with that ownership, and one is something else. So hopefully tomorrow I have something to talk about on that, and they are not transfer related. So we'll see. Okay, that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure to go catch up on the tactical video. I think you'll mostly really like it. Okay, see you later, everyone. Enjoy your evening. I'll be back tomorrow.